You bought your Tesla for $58,000. Today, that same car sells used for less than $25,000. That's not depreciation, that's half your money gone. And the worst part, the company that built your car is the same company that killed its value. Elon Musk knows this is happening. The question is, can he actually stop it? For years, the EV conversation ran on a few familiar tracks. Range was always the first concern. How far can it go before you need to plug it in? Charging was the second. How long does it take? And where do you stop on a long trip? Battery life was the third. How long before the pack degrades and the range drops? There were questions that shaped buying decisions, fueled debates online, and drove billions of dollars in research and development across every major automaker. Nobody was spending a lot of time talking about what an EV would be worth 3 years after purchase. That's changing, because the depreciation hitting the EV market right now isn't the gradual, predictable loss in value that car buyers have always factored in. It's sharper, faster, and harder to plan around. And it's not isolated to one brand or another, to one brand or model. It's showing up across the market in a way that has buyers, dealers, and automakers paying very close attention. The problem wasn't obvious when EV sales were climbing, and demand was outpacing supply. When people were paying above sticker price just to get their hands on a Model Y or a Rivian R1T, depreciation wasn't the concern. The concern was getting the car at all. But supply caught up, inventory climbed, new models arrived, and then the price cuts started. And that's where everything changed. Why EV prices are falling so fast. Across the market, EVs are losing value at a rate that surprised almost everyone. Some models have seen trade-in values fall by 30, 40, or even 50% within just a few years of purchase. Dealers are sitting on used EV inventory longer than expected. Private sellers are listing cars at prices they wouldn't have believed when they bought them. Part of this is structural. EV technology is improving fast. A 2021 model can feel noticeably behind a 2024 model in software, range, and features. That gap matters more with EVs than it does with gasoline cars, because EVs are closer to consumer electronics. They update, improve, and become outdated on a faster cycle than a traditional internal combustion vehicle. But technology improvement alone doesn't explain the speed of the decline. The bigger driver is price, specifically what new EVs cost today compared to what they cost 2 or 3 years ago. When manufacturers lower the price of a new vehicle, every used version of that same vehicle drops in value almost immediately. A buyer who can get a new Model 3 for $38,000 isn't going to pay $36,000 for a used one with 40,000 miles on it. The used market reprices in real time, and the owners holding those vehicles absorb the loss. This has happened across the EV segment. Tesla triggered it first and most dramatically, but it spread to Ford, to GM, to Rivian, to nearly every brand with significant EV inventory in the used market. The whole floor moved, and it moved fast. How Tesla changed the entire market. No company has had more influence over EV pricing than Tesla, and no single decision reshaped the market more than price cuts Tesla began executing in early 2023. In a span of months, Tesla slashed prices across its lineup. The Model 3 dropped by thousands. The Model Y dropped. The Model S and X dropped. In some cases, the cuts were $10,000 or more on a single model. Tesla did this not once, but repeatedly, cutting, adjusting, and cutting again as it responded to competition and focused on moving volume. The sales numbers responded. Tesla moved hard. Tesla moved more cars. Market share held. On paper, the strategy worked exactly as intended. But the downstream effect was immediate and severe for anyone who had already bought a Tesla. Their car lost value overnight, not through normal wear and usage, through a pricing decision made at headquarters that rippled through every used Tesla listing in the country. That alone would have been significant. What made an industry-wide event was the response it forced from competitors. Ford cut the price of the Mustang Mach-E. GM adjusted pricing on its EVs. Other brands looked at their own inventory and made similar moves. Because once Tesla reset expectations for what an EV should cost, the entire market recalibrated around that new baseline. Why Elon Musk keeps choosing growth over profit. To understand why Tesla keeps making these moves, you have to understand how Elon Musk thinks about the EV market. Musk has been consistent about his priorities for years, selling more vehicles, expanding EV adoption, lowering prices when necessary to keep demand strong. He has said repeatedly that accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy is Tesla's mission, and that selling more cars, even at lower margins, serves that mission better than protecting price points. This isn't a new position. It's been central to Tesla's strategy since the beginning. The original master plan was explicit: make expensive cars, use profits to fund cheaper cars, keep expanding until EVs become accessible to everyone. Price cuts are part of that logic. They're not a sign of weakness. In Musk's framing, they're the point. But there's also a competitive reality driving the decision. BYD surpassed Tesla in global EV sales. Chinese automakers are producing vehicles at costs that Western manufacturers struggle to match. The pressure from below is real, and holding price to protect margins isn't a viable long-term answer when competitors are undercutting you on cost. Before we continue, hit the subscribe button to stay connected with us. The hidden impact on EV owners. Lower-priced EVs sound like good news, and for buyers entering the market today, they genuinely are. Getting into a Tesla for thousands less than it cost 2 years ago is a real benefit. But for the people who bought before those cuts, the math runs the other direction. Consider the owner who bought a Model Y in 2022 at $65,000, which was the going price at the time. A few months later, the price dropped to $55,000, then to $45,000. The market value of their car tracked those cuts downward. Trade-in offers reflected the new reality. Private sale listings competed against brand new vehicles at prices that were unthinkable. That owner didn't do anything wrong. They bought a car, paid the market price, and planned their finances around the reasonable expectation of how much it would be worth in a few years. Those expectations didn't hold. This is the frustration spreading through EV owner communities right now. It's not abstract. It shows up when someone tries to trade in their vehicle and the offer comes back $15,000 lower than what their loan payoff balance is. It shows up when someone lists their car privately and gets lowball offers because buyers know new cars are cheaper. It shows up as negative equity, owning more than the car is worth, which limits operations and creates real financial stress. Nobody buying a Tesla in 2021 or 2022 was factoring in the possibility that the company would cut new car prices by 20 to 30% within 18 months. That risk wasn't visible. Now it is. Why this is becoming an industry-wide problem. What started as a Tesla story became an EV industry story. The used EV market is growing. More vehicles are coming off lease, more owners are selling, and inventory of used EVs is climbing at a time when the resale values supporting that inventory are under pressure from every direction. Traditional automakers are caught in a difficult position. They invested heavily in EV production: Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Hyundai, and now they're competing in a market where price expectations were reset by Tesla's cuts. Chinese manufacturers are offering lower-cost alternatives, and used EV supply is building faster than demand can absorb it. Rivian is facing it. Ford has cut F-150 Lightning production targets more than once in response to demand softness. GM has had to navigate pricing pressure on vehicles it spent billions developing. One of these companies built their business plan around a market where new EV prices would fall. None of these companies built their business plans around a market where new EV prices would fall this fast. The used EV dealer market is feeling it too. Vehicles that look like sound inventory purchases at auction are sitting longer. Margins are compressing. The confidence that existed 2 years ago that used EVs would hold value reasonably well has taken a serious hit, and nobody has found an easy solution. You can't raise prices in a competitive market. You can't stop new models from making older ones feel outdated. You can't reverse the effect that falling new car prices have on used car values. The forces driving this problem are structural, and they're running in one direction. Can Elon Musk actually fix this? Tesla remains the most influential company in the EV industry. What it decides about pricing, features, and strategy still shapes how the rest of the market responds. That kind of influence is real, but even Elon can't fully control what happens next. Market forces don't respond to any single company's strategy. The used EV inventory that's already on the market will take time to absorb. Consumer expectations about EV pricing, now anchored lower than they were 3 years ago, won't upset upward easily. Chinese competition, currently limited in the US by tariffs, isn't going away. And the rapid pace of EV technology improvement means that older models will continue to feel outdated faster than older gasoline cars do. Musk's response so far has been to lean into autonomous technology and robotics, positioning Tesla as something more than an automaker, betting that the future of the company runs through self-driving software and humanoid robots rather than just selling more cars. Whether that bet pays off is genuinely uncertain. The technology has taken longer than promised. Competitors like Waymo are operating at scale. The business model for robotaxis is still unproven. What surprised me most? The biggest surprise in this entire story isn't that EV prices fell. Prices fall, technology improves, markets adjust. None of that is unusual. What surprises me is how fast it happened and how completely it caught people off guard. Vehicles that were selling above sticker price in 2021 and 2022 are now trading at prices that would have seemed impossible during the shortage. Models that buyers stretch their budgets to afford are now listed as used inventory at prices that make the original purchase look significantly overpaid. The timeline from high demand and limited supply to soft market, falling values was compressed in a way that most buyers and honestly, most industry analysts didn't see coming. That speed is the thing worth sitting with, because it tells you something important about how different the EV market is from the traditional car market. The depreciation curves don't work the same way. The connection between new car pricing and used car values is more direct and more immediate. And the technology cycle is faster, which means older models feel their age sooner. If you're an EV owner right now, this matters to how you think about when to sell and what to expect. If you're considering buying an EV, it's worth understanding what drives value in this market before you commit. And if you're watching the EV industry broadly, this is the problem that's going to define the next few years of the conversation. Not range, not charging. The question of what these cars are actually worth, and who ends up holding the loss when the numbers don't work out the way anyone planned. Drop a comment below. Did the depreciation hit surprise you? Did you see it coming? And if you own an EV, has it affected how you think about their next purchase? Subscribe if you want to keep following this story. There's a lot more to come.